Are you frustrated by your messaging to customers just not actually producing any sales? Do you sometimes struggle to actually understand their motivations and actually want to know what your customers are thinking, but don't actually know where to start? Well, today we're going to look at how we can get to know our customers, learn about their motivations, and actually have engaging, meaningful conversations with them. Hey everyone, Ian Campbell here. I am CEO of Mission Suite. Now, before we jump into today's video, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, so that you're notified every time that we post new videos. Today, as you may have guessed from our introduction here, we are going to be talking a little bit about how you can really understand your customers and the leads that you're working with. As digital marketing becomes more and more prevalent, you have to put time and effort into understanding what your customers want and tailoring their user experience to that. The days of buying full-page ads in magazines tailored to your customers and hoping for the best are, well, they're not over, but there are better ways to do it. We actually need to have two-sided conversations with our customers. We need to meet them where they are, whether it's online or in person or in print, and we actually need to feed them content that they're really hungry for. I know it sounds a little bit daunting, but trust me, it only sounds daunting. There's some great ideas that we can share here, so let's dive in. First, let's use syndicated research for a 360-degree view. Does that sound intimidating? Well, really what I'm talking about is just simple market research, right? In a perfect world, we'd be able to speak to each and every customer that we have. And maybe you're in a business that you can, but for the most part, realistically, creating a sales journey that's unique to people just is way too overwhelming. And since few people actually have resources for that, we have to do our best to learn about our market segments and their purchasing behavior in other ways. One of the best ways to get a hold of this information is through this syndicated market research. This type of research can be beneficial when you're launching a new campaign or just wanting to learn more about your industry, your competition, and where your brand fits into that. I know syndicated, it sounds daunting, right? But let's start with this most obvious question: what is it? Well, syndicated research refers to independently conducted market research. This could be focus groups, it could be quantitative analysis, surveys, things like that. A market research firm conducts that study and then you buy access to the data. You don't necessarily have to pay for the actual study itself, you're just paying for the access, so it's a lot less expensive. This type of data can't really drill down and tell you the brand of coffee that Joe Smith is going to buy, but it's going to tell you how a small segment of the population that's similar to Joe Smith will interact with brands like yours. You can also actually hire a market research firm to collect some custom data, but obviously this is going to be a bit more expensive. The good news here is that once it's done, you actually do own that data and your competitors won't have access to any of it. Syndicated research is an excellent option for a 30,000-foot view. And like I said, it doesn't really have to cost that much money. You're going to be able to get a look into your industry and in your competition. And you may even be able to get a sense of where your brand lives in that space. Also, since you don't have to fund that research, again, it can be a lot more cost effective. The bad news about syndicated research is that any one of your competitors can also get access to the same information. Also, you're not really going to have a say in the methodology that's used or how the data is collected in general. So what could syndicated research really tell you about your customers? Well, really, it can actually tell you a decent amount. It can tell you where you are in their minds. If you launch an extensive campaign and you find that few companies in your market have heard of you 6 months later, well, you know you've still got a fair amount of work to do. If you're going to start a conversation with your customers, you have to know where you're starting from. And syndicated research, well, it's a pretty good way to get that information. All in all, syndicated research is a great option. It can be great, especially if you're a smaller business or if you're maybe a middle market company that just doesn't have the budget for big market research campaigns. I tend to consider this more of a first step in learning about your customers and about learning about your company's brand. This can provide you with brand insight and industry trends, but it can't be the only way that you get to know your audience because it is so general. So next, we're going to dive into some other methods. This is where we're going to start talking a little bit about exploring the fundamental questions that are actually going to shed light on your customers' needs and their purchase situations. What are they? Well, who, what, when, why, where, and how. Nothing's stopping you from collecting your own data here. And probably the most obvious way to really get to know your customers is to, well, ask your customers. You can develop an online survey or send a simple email asking for feedback from those customers, and your CRM should be able to use this information as well. Ultimately, you want to be able to store all this information so that you can then analyze it. So start with some fundamental questions about your customers' needs. Do they know about your brand, your product, or your service? And if they're your customers, presumably they do. But again, this is going to help you get more information on the general concept of where you stand. Next, how do they want to be communicated with, right? This is an important thing because it's going to tell you where you should actually be focusing your efforts on. Next, where are they in the buying process? What pain points do they have, right? There's no point in creating a survey, though, if you don't intend to use the information that you're getting from it. So be prepared to act on the answers that you get. For example, if you're asking how often someone wants to get your informative newsletter, well, now you can segment those people into weekly or monthly lists, and you can actually do something with that, right? While you can continue to use the information that you get in a bunch of different ways, the best way is arguably the best way, I guess, is to use your CRM and actually use it for segmentation, which is hugely powerful. We've talked about segmentation in past episodes as well. But this does bring me to our next point, because you have to be prepared to respond to your survey responses. Mission Suite can automatically segment your customers based on their replies, so you don't actually have to do this manually, and there are other systems that do that as well, but Mission Suite's my favorite. But if your monthly email guy keeps getting weekly emails, he's going to realize that you're not paying attention, and you'll probably end up losing him, or at least really annoying him. And that's not the way that you want to be doing business. So you want to make sure that you're doing something with the information. So don't launch a survey if you're not prepared to act on it. And speaking of all this beautiful data and the various segments of your list, now we're going to talk about segments. What are segments? Well, if you haven't gotten it yet, again, we've done other videos on this. Definitely take a look at it. Basically, it's just different aspects of your list that are segmented in different ways: age, gender, education, occupation, things like that, right? More profound questions can drive those segments and make them really effective. The more questions you ask, the more data that you collect, and the more that you can target messages to certain parts of your list. If you have a segment of customers who identify as ready to buy in the next 6 months, well, now you've got a warm list of buyers, and your messages to them can be more tailored to where they are in your sales funnel, or in their buying cycle for that matter. There's so much to gain from collecting this kind of information, but you have to have a strong CRM in place. Mission Suite actually has a system built into it that can research those contacts for you and give you some significant demographic data, as long as the systems that we use can find that information. So things like that can be really helpful. But think about your buyer and your ideal customer as you craft your survey to collect data. What are the unique attributes and the things that you most need to know about your audience to be able to reach them? It could be as simple as age or income, but what about specific market segments that you want to know, right? Drill down on what you actually need to know and then create your segments. I've had a few people ask about segments. Some don't know what characteristics will make the best segments, so let's dive in a little bit here. In 1956, a guy named Wendell Smith first coined the term market segmentation, and from that, the traditional 5 market segments were born. I'm not nostalgic, but there is some good technique to learn here. Those 5 ways to segment your market are by demographics, right? And this is the stuff: age, industry, level of education, zip code, income, things like that. This is the stuff that Mission Suite's research engine can help you find really easily. It can include psychographic information, data that revolves around how customers perceive brands and products, and how a product or service can ease a pain point, right? This is the way that people think, basically. Understanding this information can also help you know how to best communicate with a segment, right? Tells you a lot about what they want to be hearing from you. And there's the behavioral segments, right? This is where they are in your sales funnel and in their own buying process. Behavioral data can help you craft messages based on where they are and what their next move is likely to be. We'll talk about motivation more in a little bit too. And then there's geographic segmentation. This one feels pretty obvious, but we'll dive into it. Using geography helps you understand where your customers are living, where they're working, and how they're traveling, so that you can also craft messages and figure out where to put your messaging in front of them. For example, if you're selling commercial insurance, you're not going to push flood insurance in areas where floods never actually happen. The last segment is specifically for B2B marketing, and it's related to attributes that you might share with another company. It's called firmographic segmentation, and it's going to tell you more about what you have in common with another company versus another person. Again, if you're in B2B sales, this is a hugely impactful thing. Now, I know it seems like a lot, but it doesn't have to be, right? Segmenting doesn't have to be hard. It might take some time and forethought, but it's not a real challenging thing. Mission Suite, we're here to help you do that, and I'm sure that there are other people out there as well, and I'd be happy to connect you with folks in the marketing space that can help you do this. But you have to start by understanding what you don't know about your customers, and then figure out where you're going to go from there, because that's the information that you need to figure out. When you find that your messages and your outreach just aren't landing, look to that segmentation first and foremost to help you best understand what you don't know, and then start filling in those gaps. Another piece of data that I like to focus on is understanding a customer's or a potential customer's why. Now, if you've had any exposure to business topics in the past probably 10, 15 years, you've heard about this idea of starting with why. And Simon Sinek made it popular. I've talked about it. I'm a huge fan of his, and I definitely recommend you taking a look at it, because understanding your customer's motivation is a critical factor in getting to know them and getting to connect with them in a really meaningful way. And sending a specific message to a potential customer at the right time signals that you are paying attention to their needs, right? Knowing why they're doing something lets them know that you're taking care of them. If you're cranking out messages to customers who are just not there yet, then you're wasting your time, and you're probably irritating a fair amount of your audience. I've seen many people make this mistake. I've made it myself. And oftentimes people blame the failure on the message when it's actually the lack of understanding of why they're looking for what they're looking for, where they are, that's working against you. Here's where you really need that psychographic information to actually get to the heart of your customer. Look at your information that's in your CRM that you have on those people and put yourself in their shoes. In most cases, it's going to be obvious why someone's buying your product or service. But in some competitive situations, understanding motivation can help you really highlight features and benefits that put you ahead of your competition. And for that matter, sometimes will help you actually just remove yourself from the opportunity altogether, because sometimes it's just not worth it. Again, your well-timed and relevant message, though, does say that you're paying attention and not just selling. The whole reason that we collect information and segment to get to know our customers is to position ourselves in the best light and to actually sell our product or service when it's appropriate. One further note about understanding motivation is that when you spend time to understand that motivation, you're probably also going to save some time when a customer isn't a good fit. We spend a lot of time talking about getting to the business, but understanding when a customer is not a great fit for you is just as valuable. And lastly, do a competitive analysis, right? Take a look at the competition that's out there. Take a look at how you can take advantage of their shortcomings, right? I mean, you've probably heard the term SWOT analysis before: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Do an outside SWOT analysis on your competition and use the information, because you should be getting to know your competition. Without question, they're getting to know you through the same process. Now, before you can understand that audience of yours, or even really your segments, you've got to understand your own industry and your place in it. There could be an argument made that this should have been the first thing that we talked about, but this is what I want to leave you with, because a competitive analysis is going to help you know your competition, where they outshine you and your company, and where they might fall short. To start that competitive analysis, obviously you're going to have to figure out first and foremost who is in your competitive set, right? Who else is out there trying to do the same things for the same people? And this is not just companies that do what you do, but the ones that are but those in direct competition with you, companies that could be bidding on the same business as you are. For example, a local IT provider is not necessarily in direct competition with Amazon Web Services, but your competitive set is in your space and directly vying for the same business you are. Next, start doing a little bit of snooping around, right? Take a look at what their online footprint looks like. Take a look at what the reviews are saying. Look at what they're offering that you might not be doing, that they might not be offering. Look at what they're doing that could be better than you, right? And take a look at what they're doing that you just don't do at all. Basically, you're doing some research to find out where you're like and where you differ, right? Simply put. And that you can use, and now you can use this information to gain that advantage, an advantage over them. For example, if they're charging for an initial consultation, do a free one, right? You could win a lot more business that way. If you can, maybe even pull some former customers or business because you lost to a competitor at some point, right? Talk to them, find out why, because this is going to give you insight into where you can improve moving forward. And again, knowing your competition is one of the most important starting points to actually get you to beating your competition. So hopefully at this point you kind of get a sense that understanding your customers and clients is not just a given, right? It's not as easy as it sounds. It does take a little bit of work, but it's worth it because it can save you time and probably give you an advantage in a competitive situation. And with the right tools, you can get it done pretty effectively. If you have any questions about anything like this, I'm happy to talk about. Shoot me a note down in the comments. You can send us an email to sales@themissionsuite.com, and we'll be happy to get in touch with you. But let us know. Let us know your thoughts, and I would love to hear it. Listen, I hope you got some value here. I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up, give it a share, give it a comment, whatever it is, so other people can see it too. That helps us with the YouTube algorithm. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you're notified every time that we post new videos. And while you're at it, check out the videos that are on your screen, and we will see you next time around. Cheers.